What's up, real ones? It's your host, Rueben. I don't dodge the tough questions, and I'm never afraid to speak the truth. If you're new here, welcome. We celebrate stories, unpack the hard stuff, and talk about the things that actually shape us. So take a breath and lean in. This is Getting Real. Getting Real. Getting Real. What is up, you guys, and welcome to the next episode of Getting Real with Rueben. And as you know, we always start the podcast off with a little bit of wisdom, I would say. And I like to relate it to who the guest is. And I think that it's important, especially in 2026. We have elections coming up. I mean, we have so many things that I think that we're growing passionate about. And we have to think about our legacy, right? And what we're leaving behind, what we are teaching the people that are going to come under us or after us, and to continue on the mission that we feel in our heart or that we're convicted to push. And I think that a lot of times we get so caught up in the day-to-day life with our significant others, with our family, with our work, that we forget truly to think about what our legacy is, right? We forget to think about, you know, the little boy or girl that lives in your heart, but we also forget about why we wake up every day, why we are doing what we're doing. And I think if more of us did that and we focused on that part of our brain and our heart, we would be able to live a happier life just as a whole community, right? And I think that in the conversation today, we're going to dig a lot into legacy. We're going to dig a lot into meaning. We're going to dig a lot into what your past means to us, right? Like, and I say us, I mean, your legacy affects a group of people, whether you believe it or not. Whether you think you only have 10 followers on social media or you have a very small family, people have eyes on you. They're watching the way you move, the way you talk, the way you do business. And so I think you guys are going to you're going to leave today learning a lot. So I will get to the episode. But before we do, we have a message from one of our sponsors. Right. Yes, I am the sponsor of this week's episode. I shouldn't say it is the R Group as the sponsor this week. We do all things real estate. So whether you are looking to buy, sell, apartment locate, rent, get a piece of land, build a new house, buy a manufactured home, whatever it is, we can help you in Texas and all over the United States. Thanks to our brokerage, Real Brokerage, who is nationwide. You guys, there are over 30,000 of us in the United States. So wherever you need to buy, the R Group can help you. We believe in education. So if you have no idea how any of it works, it's just a quick call or text. So be sure to reach out to me and we will get you all connected. Now on to the episode. All right. Well, now that we've got the bills paid, I am so excited for this episode. As you guys know, we are kicking March off with some badass women. And when this guest and I connected, I knew immediately, strategically, where I wanted to place them in the lineup for the podcast, because March is important to me. It's important to me because it is Women's History Month, and I think every year that passes, we realize how much of a force women are in our world, and I don't think we pay them as much justice as we should. So without further ado, I am so excited to welcome Miss Shelly Lares.
Hello.
Little Miss Dynamite. So we were talking a little bit off camera.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, first off, if you are listening or you're watching and you don't know who the woman is sitting next to me, you've been living under a rock, because we were talking about 4 decades of music. Whether it was
I'm on Wikipedia.
She's on Wikipedia. She's probably on IMDb. I mean, the accolades go forever.
43 years. Yeah.
And if you have never heard of Shelly, welcome. This is Shelly Lares. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize, obviously they know you for your music, which we're going to talk about for sure. But I think in the past couple of years, people are starting to connect your name with advocacy and using your voice for things that most artists kind of veer away from. So that's where I want to start the conversation. Okay. I want to start, what gave you this tenacity? Where does that come from in your past? Growing up, was that taught to you, or did you just learn to be that way throughout the industry?
I think it was stemmed from my parents, because they have a lot of that: resilience, perseverance, tenacity, consistency, love, especially. So yeah, I mean, they were a huge example to my siblings and I growing up. I grew up the baby of 4.
Okay.
So, and then we grew up in a very musical household. Music was always around us, but always teaching us, like, you know, your word is everything. Like, if you say you're going to do something, do it, and do what you're passionate about. Yeah. And that we didn't know anything other than that. So that was always instilled in us from birth.
And when now that you're in your outside of your, I say career, right? But I'm speaking about your performing and your artist career, and touring, right? I feel like, and I even get it from you in your aura, right? Like you are a strong woman. You're a strong individual. Take the woman part out even. You are just a strong human. And I'll say, I always ask people this because I think it's a funny question to ask. What is your superpower? If you could name what your superpower is it your, your mentorship that is you feel like that is one of your superpowers?
Absolutely.
Or, okay.
I'd have to say that.
Okay.
My leadership qualities, because I'm very rooted in God and knowing what my gifts are.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because some people go through their whole life without realizing what their gifts are, right? And because at the end of the day, I've said this before, if people just remember me from my music, then I didn't do something right in life, right? Because really life is about glorifying God, spreading God's word, and of course, loving each other and serving each other as people. And I love serving people. I do. I did it in my music. I do it in my mentorship.
Yeah.
I do it as my music support in hospice.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of things. And that's what I love. I love mentoring. I love guiding. I don't know everything.
Yeah,
I'm not someone
you
that
never
knows
will.
everything, but I love to be in rooms where people know more than me because I love to learn. And we never stop growing. I'm 54, but I learn new things every day from my students.
Yeah.
and I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, superpower mentorship, absolutely.
And it's funny because if you follow Shelly on socials, I feel like you immediately know that. You immediately know that you are there for not just the people in the industry, but just in general. You talked about hospice, right? Like that is something that you're passionate about, using music to I wouldn't say to make hospice patients that much more comfortable.
Yeah, it's comfort
and
care
their,
for sure.
And also, but bringing their memories back.
Yes,
I think I saw
our
a video
dementia
of you.
patients.
Yeah, the dementia patient. I saw you tell a story. Can you expand on that?
Oh man. Well, I was retiring from the road because I wanted to be a hospice nurse.
Yeah.
That was my plan in 23, my first year off the road. And mind you, I'd done it for 40 years consistently. Wow. From the age of 10 to the age of 50, I never took a hiatus.
Which is crazy.
Never took a hiatus. Every single weekend from the age of 10 to 50, I was on the road. So people were like, why? I'm like, because 40 years, hello. I mean, some people only learned of me in the 90s, so they didn't understand I started in 1982.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to serve people in hospice because my mom and I were my dad's caregiver.
Okay.
So I loved doing that. I loved caring for my father, up until his last breath.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
how old were you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
How old were you at that time?
It was in 99. So
okay.
Yeah,
so it
wasn't that long ago. But Daddy passed in 2016.
Okay.
So it's been like already 10 years that he's passed. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to be in hospice and work in that area. And I had already enrolled in nursing school and everything to start April of 23. But God's like, nope, I'm going to give you hospice, but I want you to stay in music.
Yep.
And so February of 2023, my cousin Sylvia, who owns Harmony Hospice Care, called me up and said, hey, we're going to add music to our hospice for our hospice patients, and we want you to do it. And I kid you not, Rueben, like I cried. I fell to my knees and I just started bawling. And I was like, thanking God for giving me hospice. But I was like, okay, I see. I'm not in charge of this life. Yeah. I'm not steering this life. You are. And I have to be obedient to where God is taking me.
When his timing is right.
And so I started doing that. And man, music plays such a vital role in the comfort care, not only for hospice patients.
Yeah.
For anyone going through depression, anxiety, anything like that. But with dementia in particular, I had my very first patient was a musician in his day. And he played the saxophone in a big band and hadn't picked up that sax in over 20 years. And I learned the music that he loved. And the minute I'd started, like he was just like this in his chair. By the end of our visit, he was like this with me. Yeah, just like directing me. And then I saw his sax there and I pulled it out and he started playing it. And I was like, you just saw it all come back, you know, and I'm not healing them from their illness. That's not what we do. But it's just about comfort. And it's about sharing the beautiful gift of music and bringing comfort to that other person.
But also to the families too, because how beautiful, right?
Man.
Like
it's been incredible because the families, they see the families every day and it's like a routine. So I always come in saying, I'm the fun part of hospice, I'm the party, and they love it, you know, and it's all in your personality.
Yep.
Like you have to kind of lighten the room and sometimes they don't want it and you have to kind of go with that too. But yeah, when I walk in, the families, I mean, they've come in from the other room, like freaked out.
Wow.
Because they haven't been seen
that person
their loved
doesn't
one.
exist to them,
They haven't seen them like that in a long time. So music is very underrated when it comes to therapy.
I agree.
And with your brain, it just does something with your heart. And so yeah, I'm so honored to do what I do, and that again is to serve God, serve people.
It's funny because like there are certain people, whether it be in music industry, just across the industries, you hear them speak the way you're speaking now, and it's more on a business venture. It is so clear being in your presence that this is what you were meant to do. It's just so I could feel it.
I love
this is what
it.
you're passionate about.
I love being there for people.
And do you feel like I guess I want to ask, do you feel like you'll ever completely stop mentoring and doing anything in the traditional music space to then open up something that is a little bit more niche to things like therapy through music?
Oh, probably so.
Okay,
I probably will. I mean, there's a lot of things that I pray I'm gonna continue to be able to do with my life. Like you were talking about legacy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You leave your imprint in people, and it's how you made other people feel as well. But no, I would love to. I have so many. I don't say I move in goals. I said I say I move with God, not goals.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what I do.
That's awesome.
And I actually wrote a song about it. That's called "Move with God, Not Goals."
Oh, wow.
So it's really where I feel I'm being led to continue to spread good and spread God's word in whatever way that I can. But yeah, that would be amazing. There's a lot of things. I mean, I want to have my own school of music. I want to do my own things with music and therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I would love to do, in the near future.
So let's talk about. So we touched on legacy at the beginning of the episode. You touched on it again. I want to go back because here's the thing. The whole point of the podcast for me when I started it was, okay, I want to tell a story that hasn't been heard before. Of course, I want to highlight.
Yeah.
There are things that have to be highlighted because it's worthy of it in your career and your life and all the things that you've accomplished. But there's certain stories that I feel like you don't get to tell unless it's a one-off and something happens and someone asks for your comment, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things you don't get to really dig into.
Yeah.
And I think that if you don't mind, if it's not an overstep, I think that one of the things that stands out to me is your unapologetic self. You are yourself, and all the things can exist at once. Mm-hmm. And that's rare. I don't know if you probably do know that, but I don't know if people tell you that enough. Because
no, not really.
when I look at you, or when I hear you, when I see you on the news, when I see you even if you're just presenting an award and you're not performing or anything, you're just being you. There is some portion of me that feels so much pride because in a music industry, they're telling you how to walk, talk, dress, right? All that, right?
Yeah.
But then now you're outside of the music industry, and they probably still tell you that you should walk, dress, act a certain way, right? And I feel like every time you show up, you are 100% authentic because all of the things can exist. And my example is women of color, right? Mm-hmm. You're a Latina woman, strong, own your own business. All those things can be at the same time. They can all
coexist,
they can coexist and be on the same lane. But then you throw in the fact that now you're in medicine, call it what it is. You're in part of the LGBTQ community. That's a huge layer. There are so many layers.
Education now too.
Education at UTSA. It's just insane to me how you have all these lanes and you are the same exact person and you exist the same exact way in every lane. And I'll be honest, whether it be musicians or not, but in your case, musicians or former musicians in this case, since you're more of a mentor and producer now, it's just very rare. And I say that because I'm not that big into the music industry. Destiny is one of my best friends, so I'm just constantly rubbing elbows with that industry. Yeah. And it's rare. Yeah. It's rare. So like, I don't know if people tell you that, but I just wanted to say thank you for that. Because
no one's ever told me that. So thank you.
I think especially in 2026, like you're a woman of God, right?
Yes.
And I think back in the 90s, being an LGBTQ person of the community and
that would
saying
never have happened.
That doesn't happen. Those two cannot be in the same sentence.
It probably would have been detrimental to my career. There's no way.
Right. And now you're, dare I say, leading the troop. You're leading the charge in that because you're like, this is who I am. And I feel even proud to watch you. Of course, like my parents listen to you. I mean, I've heard your song since I was a kid. It's not even that. It's the fact that now I'm connecting the sound of that voice to the person who I'm sitting here now, who is a trailblazer for all of those things. And I think that although you mentor people, artists, and that is all great, I don't even know if it's clicked in your mind that you're mentoring people that have nothing to do with the art that you partake in.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yeah. It's nice to see that. I mean, I do get a lot of DMs from young people that are not in the music industry and just happen to follow me and for a lot of different things. And it's awesome to see. I'll be completely honest. I've never been, I wouldn't say comfortable like I want to hide.
Yeah.
I've just never been comfortable being in a spotlight.
Okay.
Like I'm not doing this because I want people to be like, look at me, look what I can do, you know, very Stewart. But I love kind of helping people find their light in whatever
where they fit,
where they're their best. And I mean, ultimately, it's not up to me. It's like God created us to be who we are, and God is ultimately the one that's in control of everything. But I love to work on artists, their confidence, and understanding that God made them uniquely themselves and how they can shine on their own.
Yeah.
You know, because we all bring something to the table. And in the music industry, people, you know, they put you up against each other, especially women.
Right.
I mean, they did that our whole career, and it continues to happen.
When you were starting, it was you and Selena.
Oh,
Y'all were the big
and we
women.
were the youngest ones at the time. At that time, we were the same age, so we were the youngest ones. So people are always comparing, but it's like apples to oranges because we're all very different and we're all very unique. You know, but like I love being in this you know, behind the scenes now because I love to show like, look, we're all here, we're all can shine. And one thing I do love about the music industry, because it's kind of like there's good things and bad things, just like back then. There were good things and bad things, but you lived under a microscope then. And you know, you had to look a certain way, and like you said yourself, talk a certain way, dress a certain way. And they looked at everything, especially with the women. Like we were more under the microscope than men.
Believe it. Like
men could always come up showing, looking all trashy. And nobody would say nothing.
Probably drunk
they
backstage.
would gain 20 pounds and you know, their shirt would be you know, all unbuttoned and, you know, nobody
wrinkled,
cared.
whatever,
Women would come in, gain a little weight. Oh my gosh, did you see her? And so, you know, but I never let that affect me, even today. Like other people's opinions of me, especially negative opinions, never have affected me. They don't shake my ground at all whatsoever. Everyone is entitled to feel what they do, but I don't necessarily live my life for other people. So
I have to stop you there, but I know you said you never had, but even as a child, were you always that tenacious character? I remember it. Okay.
And I was always sticking up for the ones that were bullied. You know, I was that kid, you know, like I like, would
leave
always,
them alone.
They always knew. But again, it just wasn't. And it's funny because I have a friend of mine who always says, Shell, like, you're like an alpha. You walk in the room, it's like you're an alpha male. You're like, you feel your presence there. And I'm like, I don't do it purposely. I just want people to know that it's okay for you to feel comfortable in your skin.
Take up space.
And it's okay. And it's not that you're wanting to dominate the space, right? But I remember as a child, I never did things just to fit in.
Okay.
I was okay with, like, if I wasn't comfortable with something, I wasn't going to do it.
When's your birthday?
I'm November 13th.
November 13th.
So I'm a Scorpio, but I'm a child of God, most importantly. But yeah, so I just never have felt that. But like now, what I was saying about the music industry now, I think what's kind of cool about social media that has changed the game is that I don't think people really care anymore. Like if you've gained weight, if you're heavy or you're skinny, what color you are. I think if your music and your personality resonates with them through the phone or through the camera, I think they're gonna support you. And I love that. We didn't have that then, but then we didn't have social media then.
Yeah, everyone's so accessible now. The trolls that existed then, they exist now, so they're never going to go away.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that someone, I mean, there's going to be your ones and twos that are going to get on the keyboard and talk about how you gained weight.
And isn't it funny how we tend to just pick out that one or two comment? And you need to not do that.
And there's like 80 other ones that are like, great job.
Yeah, I mean, okay, thank you. But I'll tell you what, my secret is I never read the comments.
Okay.
I never read comments. I actually don't get on social media and look at other people's stuff. I get on to just post about my artist and I get off. Unless someone tags me, that's the only time I will see someone else. But I do not sit there and scroll. I do not sit and scroll.
Well, also you're very busy, ma'am. So
yeah,
you don't
but
have
I
time
made
for
it.
that. But
I made it a point. You know, in my recent baptism, I made it a point to just sit still with God, and just do my thing. Because you know, God does want us to prosper.
Yep.
God wants us to do well,
Yep.
you know. So I just feel like that is not a healthy thing for me. You know, it tends to be because I honestly believe that there is more good in the world than there is bad.
Oh,
We
agree.
just don't hear about it.
Right.
I believe it. I believe it with my whole heart.
Agree.
That most of us as human beings are good people.
And we want the best for
Yeah.
everybody. Yep.
We just don't hear about it. So I tend to put myself into spaces that are positive spaces. My studio, my my welcome mat outside my door says "Leave your ego at the door."
Oh, nice.
And it's been a blessed space. It's my space of God and positivity, and I don't let any kind of any negative feelings, vibes, comments. But my artists know that it's a safe space.
Yeah.
And I have sat and I continue to sit in this control room.
Yeah.
With my artists who are crying and venting to me and just sharing their lives with me and asking me for opinions, and we pray.
Yeah.
Before we even create music.
Wow.
It's a very powerful space that I'm very grateful to God that I've been allowed to create for my artists.
And it's opened up so many doors.
Because I've never been in a room like that.
No, and it's opened up so many doors, not just for you, but for the artists.
Yeah.
Because there are young artists that are new artists in the industry that, dare I say, if they weren't in your studio getting the advice, feeling the power that they feel in that space, they wouldn't have the confidence, have the artistry, the branding, if you will, to be able to succeed in the spaces that they have. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have multiple artists that have been nominated for many different awards.
Yeah.
When I was looking,
I have different artists of different genres.
Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think that's the key here, because I do want to venture a little bit into specifically the Tejano world, because that's where you come from, but I don't want to stick on it for too long. But one argument that comes up in my household, and I say household, but between friends, between family, is, well, Tejano's a dying breed. Like, it's dying.
No.
And it's funny because then I fight with Destiny, and I'll be like, well, they have a point with this, and she's like, Rueben, Tejano is not what you think it is. Tejano stands for Tejano is a culture.
It's our culture.
And of course, I got schooled on that like about 5 years ago. But this was a while back. But I was like, oh my God, you're so right.
Yeah.
And I think that is what we're missing.
Right.
We're missing the education of, like, Tejano. Yeah, if you're not a fan of the old greats, like maybe you hear music that was made in the 90s and you're like, oh, it kind of sounds dated for whatever reason, you're not into it. Cool.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you have to shun the whole industry.
Exactly.
But in that same breath, we were talking a little off camera, is with the industry itself, we have to do a better job as producers, managers, publicists, whatever. As a whole, to find the holes in which we are not kind of performing in, right?
Right.
And so I have this conversation often with Destiny, and she's the one that's like, no, Rueben, like, I got to make this music different, but I got to keep the culture of Tejano to show any younger generation.
Because she's still performing for a younger demographic as well. Her age and under, too.
Exactly.
And over, because they know the Nevada name, obviously.
And it kind of relates to you in the sense of whenever you were at the end of your touring career, and I want to kind of ask you, did you see a change? I mean, obviously you saw a change from when you got your start to when you finished, right?
Oh,
you
gosh,
saw the world
totally
change.
Different.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
but
yes.
what's the biggest thing that you remember in your mind towards the end of thinking, like, gosh, this has changed?
Well,
what was the biggest?
Well, one of the things now, being at UTSA, UT San Antonio, should I say, is that I'm educating about Tejano music and the evolution of it, educating like facts of how it started, because I think there's a lot of things that come into play. Yes, there was this 20-year gap, maybe 25-year gap, where the younger generation was not listening to Tejano.
Which is so
not
true.
Not a lot, like before.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of things that come into play for that. But I mean, I remember, starting out, it was very small, because that's how Tejano music started. Yeah. Mind you, Tejano music originated from conjunto music, where it was just the accordion and the bajo sexto. That's where it started. Okay. And you're talking about late 1800s, early 1900s that it started, okay? And then it used to be just music that you would hear in the backyard. They would play it, in the backyard, just the bajo sexto accordion. And then people were like, what is this music, because it originated, mostly the accordion, from the German polka, as the Germans were here, and farm workers would hear them playing German polkas, and they're like, oh, hey, well, we want one, and we're going to implement Spanish music into it. So that's how that started. And then as we progressed into the 30s, the very first woman of Tejano music was Lady Mendoza. She was the very first woman ever in Tejano music. Wow. So she would play with her guitar and sing, you know, folk songs and corridos and stuff like that. And that was in the 30s. And as we progressed, then people are like, oh, we like this music. So then they started playing in bars.
Of course.
So they're playing in bars and dance halls. So they're playing in bars and dance halls. And then that was a culture, right? We're like, oh, okay, well, we want this band to come play, but can we like make it a band? So then they started implementing drums and bass. And so now it's a band, and now we're attracting people. So see, what started off as just us sitting in the backyard playing music started to become music that was in demand.
And pulling from
as a
other
business type of way,
too,
right,
thus making
exactly. And every decade, every generation brings their own. And I always say it's like a big pot of food of Tejano music, and everyone's just adding their ingredients, adding it. It's not measured,
right?
It's just out of love and passion.
Here, dash there.
Yes. So then here comes 30s and 40s music, big band, orchestra. Then 60s, then you turn it to orquesta sound, Chicano sound, if you will. Rueben Ramos, Little Joe, all of those guys. Those are the innovators of the sound. And now it's getting even bigger because my parents are in high school and they're hearing this music. So they're young.
And it's cool.
Right. So they're coming to the dances. The dances were packed. It's a business now. Right. And then now we're in the 80s. We're into the synthesizers. Keyboards coming along. It's going to become more progressive. So now it's another younger demographic where we came in. Early 80s, 90s. This is our sound. We're bringing not only the Tejano cumbia ranchera, baladas, but we also listen to pop music. So
I have to stop you right now because I know you tell this story. You've told this story plenty. I've seen so many. You haven't gone this into depth that I've seen, but I know you tell these stories to a lot of people. Obviously, when you're speaking, when you're teaching, when you're at the university. It's mind-blowing to me that you're just so like, and there we are, and you were a pioneer for those years.
It's hard to think about that.
It rolls off your tongue easily, but it's like, that is huge.
No, to be one of the, the first women of Tejano, because when, like I said, Lydia Mendoza was the first ever.
Yeah.
And then my generation, like when I came in 1982, we had Laura Canales, Patsy Torres, Janie C. Ramirez, Elsa Garcia, Linda Escobar, Selena. And so really there was, 6 women?
Yeah.
That's it when I came in 1982. Wow. So I was one of 7 altogether, right? All of us 7. Yep. But Selena and I were kids. We were 10 years old. So she had already been doing it a few years before me.
Yeah.
But we were 10 years old. But yeah, to consider, and then Elida and Stephanie, they came later in the 90s, but they were also innovators of that sound, of the Tejano progressive, right?
Yep.
So like everyone that I walk amongst, everyone I grew up with in this industry that's known me for 43 years, since the age of 10, like we don't realize we're innovators of this sound.
You don't realize that. I mean, I'm going to say y'all don't realize that y'all are icons of the sound because I always relate. And forgive me, everyone listening, but I always relate it to now because when I'm trying to get my brain to understand, the way I see it is back then. You had you guys, you and Selena and your who else is it?
In the 90s,
Patsy. Who was the other one? Elsa Garcia. Like y'all were.
And then we
like
had Stephanie Lynn come in for a while. We had a lot of girls start coming in.
But y'all, the main, that core 6 or 7. It's kind of like the way you relate it to like the Whitney Houstons of that pop world, right? The Whitney Houstons, the Madonnas,
and they're all different.
Right? They're all so different. And then the next generation, you had the Britney Spears and the Christinas.
Right, exactly.
And now you have the Gagas and the Beyoncés.
Exactly.
And then you have Sabrina Carpenter.
Right.
And so it's every genre, everyone evolves and
this
takes
is why
a little
it's so
bit.
weird what you were talking about. And our industry, like, I mean, it would upset me, and I know the new artists get upset because like the older school mentality of the program directors, promoters, people of those, I understand where they're coming from because this is what I talk to my artists about is that, if you want to do something a certain way, like, first of all, you have to understand the powerful gift of music. Okay. You have to understand that first and not take that for granted.
Yep.
Do you know how powerful that gift is to
and
have?
respect that gift.
It's exactly. Why do you want to do this? Tell me why. Do you know why you want to do this?
Right.
Well, because I want to.
like to
I want to sell my record. Okay. Well, why do you really want to do this? And if it's because you're passionate about music, because at the end of the day, what you're creating is becoming part of someone's life that's listening to it. Yep. And don't take it lightly, because maybe your song maybe prevented someone from committing suicide.
Yep.
Maybe your song took someone out of depression. Do you understand how powerful that is? So you have to understand, don't just come in just because you want to be part of.
A star.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you will do well, but you will fail. It will only last you so long.
Correct.
Right? If you want to be a long-lasting artist, you have to understand who you are and what you want people, how you want to connect with people musically.
Yep.
And as long as you know that, you will never fail.
And I think that some people forget on the respect level, and I think maybe what you were going to get at, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, I get where the older generation is coming from, right? Because they're like, they want to protect the genre. Of course, they want to protect what they built, let's just say. But
growth is what we need.
Growth is needed, but I think with the new artists, to your point, they forget that respect level of, if I'm going to evolve
and they don't always get it right.
Right.
They don't get it right in a way that, like, they're not shedding, and I'm not saying for them to be something they're not. But like, they come in and sometimes I hear some of this production, sometimes I hear like some of them vocally need work.
Yeah.
And they've come to me, and just because you're bringing money to me doesn't mean I'm going to record and produce you. I'm going to tell you, okay, if I hear, like, you're going to have to sing for me, I got to know what you sound like. And if they have a foundation, then I tell them, look, we need to work on your vocals a little bit. These are some things you can do, because voice is very important. There's a difference, like my mom, I always use my mom as an example. She would be like telling the doctor, oh, I'm active. But the doctor's like, yes, Miss Lares, but you're not exercising.
Right.
There's being active and exercising. It's the same thing with vocals. Just because you're singing doesn't mean you're conditioning.
Gotcha.
So there's certain conditioning exercises you need to do every day to commit to your voice. Like, there's certain things you can't eat, certain things you can't drink. It's discipline, for sure. And I went to Catholic school, so I'm very disciplined. So, I sit down and talk with them, and I'm like, you're not ready to be on a record yet. And this is why. And then I'll tell them, come back to me in 6 months, and I'll listen to you again, and I'm going to know if you've committed yourself to what I told you to do. Yep. And it's only going to hurt you. You can go pay another producer that's going to put you out there. Yep. But it's not helping our industry. It's not helping you, because then it's like, ooh, what is that? And a person that's hearing Tejano music for the very first time.
Yes.
Going to be like, see, this is what we're paying for. We took our recordings very seriously. We put a lot of time and effort and money into what we did. But we did things at a certain level. That's why we were so successful. That's why the genre was so successful at the time. Even radio, internet started coming along, and they started playing newer artists because the FM stations were not playing them, which I understood. Some of them were good. Yeah. There were some new artists that deserved to be played on these FM stations, but for whatever reason, they weren't playing them, right? And then they're like, oh, we're going to play everybody. Okay, well, that doesn't necessarily help either.
Yeah.
You got to do things at a certain standard.
Yep.
And
I love that you're saying the standard, because that is what I see all the time.
And it's not to
break anyone down.
You don't need anyone's validation.
No.
But our genre deserves the utmost respect and effort.
But I think also too, what something to take into consideration is, as the years progress, just the world, the population in general, the times are changing. Yeah. And so to your point, there is a level of effort. There's a level of planning, the quality, across the board, that will just continue to grow with technology, with tools. Yeah. And so if we get stuck there, for instance, this is not something I've seen, but let's just say, you go to a radio show, you go as a guest, and you show up to the radio show and it's like archaic, right? You're immediately, because it's 2026, immediately going to be like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be of good quality, right? Right. That perception is reality immediately, whether the content is great, whether the listener gets it or not. Right. And I think, to your point, if they're just playing everything, or you're going to, everyone needs their start, right? But like, if you go to a big festival and right before the headliner is an opener that you ain't never heard of that isn't great, immediately you're like,
Yeah, I know.
Right? So
first impression is lasting
it's
impression
so
too.
lasting.
And we continue to grow as artists.
of
Like,
course.
I mean, if I look back in my, when I look back when I was 10 years old performing at the 3rd Annual Tejano Music Awards, and I'm listening to myself, I'm like, wow. I mean, but I was 10 years
You were
old.
10, yeah.
And I felt like at that time I was good, and I, if I put myself back in that, but there was always growth. But at some point, someone gave me an opportunity, right? Because when I started out, I started doing orquesta music.
Wow.
So I implemented brass into my music when I was from 10 to 14 years old.
Crazy.
But then technology started, I mean, keyboards came along, so I wanted to be more modern. And so imagine if they had not opened up those doors to me, I'd been doing orquesta my whole, there's nothing wrong with orquesta music. That's not what I mean.
You just wouldn't have evolved to where you
But what
evolved.
I was implementing orquesta and more modern sound, because even my biggest hits, Esa Química Que Tienes, Mil Besos, those songs still have orquesta, but they were modernized.
Yeah.
So I wasn't forgetting where I came from. But you can't get to where you're going if you forget where you came from.
Correct.
So I was still implementing my roots into my music, but at some point someone gave me the opportunity. And if they hadn't, then I wouldn't have had a 43-year career.
Shell Shock Records.
Exactly. And so, but don't get me wrong. My dad is my manager. He banged those doors down for me. Yep. They weren't always accepting of me opening shows and, doing these gigs. So daddy, he was the one that was selling me per se, like my daughter's going to do a good job. I promise you she'll do a good job, but I promise you that you're going to pay more money the next time you want her. And he, so that was my dad, That's so cool. and he believed in me 1,000% as my mom, but it wasn't always easy. And one thing that I do with my artists is I think it's just like raising a child. You still have to raise them with the old school mentality in some areas, old school morals of the way to be. So I do teach my artists to roll with the punches. It's not always I don't always want them to rely on technology.
Right.
I am not going to auto-tune my artists. I do not auto-tune my artists.
Wow.
I will work with them in the studio until they hit the right notes.
Wow.
I do not cut and paste this chorus to this chorus.
They will sing it through.
They're going to sing it through.
Wow.
And this is how I work with my artists. And this is how, like Manny Guerra did for me in the recording studios, I train racehorses. This is what we do. And this is the boot camp of Shell Shock Records 3. And I have to do that because it's going to be more beneficial to them. They have to know what to do when things are not always going to go the way they want it to go.
Like on stage. On
stage, hearing. Don't just rely on your in-ear. You gotta train your ear to hear without, a monitor.
Let me tell you, because some of these venues and
some
get
of the
me
sound,
started.
My wife laughs. She always posts videos of me when I go with my artists because you will always see me at the soundboard. Because I'm always correcting it. I'm like, no.
I had to learn. I don't even know anything about the soundboard, but there were times, like one time I had to go somewhere, and Raul's usually, he used to always go to Destiny's gigs. And so I went to one and he wasn't there, and Des was like, can you go to the back and like listen to how it sounds
See how
everywhere?
It sounds, right.
So there I am like a tonto walking around the entire venue somewhere in Houston. I don't know where we were at. And I'm like, kind of sounds good. Like, I don't know what I'm looking for, but over time it's crazy to hear the difference in different venues, different.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how to use the board, but like I'll just go up to them and I'm like, hey, like I hear more accordion over here. I'm not hearing, So, but it's crazy because once again, to your point, not only are you training them, but you're also preparing them for the worst because, again, as we spoke about, there are times that sommes the ball gets dropped and the sound engineer is no longer available.
Yeah, you got to roll with the punches.
I mean?
Got to roll with the punches. But when I'm around with my artists, people know because I'm always making sure, because I'm almost manager too, because I know what to expect, and I was an artist, so. I know what to look for and what not to look for. And going back to what you were saying, Destiny said about it never dying. Absolutely, it's not going to ever die. Where people tend to not understand, and the disconnect is that the reason that we need to do things at a certain standard is because there also is the economy of Tejano music. Okay? And if the music is good, fans are going to listen to the radio station, right? Fans are going to want to hear that new artist on that radio station. Right. So fans are going to call and request at that radio station. So the venue is going to need the radio station to promote their dance, that the venue is bringing a new artist because they're being requested. It's an ecosystem of the economy that needs to be a well-oiled machine.
Right.
And that's where I feel like we derailed for a while.
For a little bit, yeah. It's
But
coming.
I think,
will say it's starting
but
to
the
come
young
back.
generation and my students included, now with the very first Tejano ensemble,
Wow.
are taking a loving to Tejano again, and I see it that's how we were back in
then.
the 80s and 90s, and I think that it's going to take this surge of young artists and fans to get back to where I don't want to go back to the 90s.
Of course not.
It's funny because Rebecca Valadez and I wrote a song called Back to the 90s. I don't want to go back to the 90s. I want us to be where we're at and make a, put it, like, make people understand, look, this is who we are.
Yeah.
Our genre is beautiful.
Do you think, I'm going to relate it to real estate because that's what I do by day, right? And like in real estate, we talk about the cycle, right? And you see ups and the real estate market's great. And then there's a cycle and the market slows as it did now. And then it's going to pick back up, right?
Right.
And that's just the circle of life when it comes to real estate. And now, as you're saying it, I'm clicking in my head and I want to get your take on this. Is it also too, because back in the 90s, 80s, right, there was this we had the walkouts. We had there was a huge passion and a pride,
an excitement.
and it was a pride to be Latino and to be with your people.
For sure.
Then that went away.
Yeah, it did.
Now here we are. Bad Bunny just did the Super Bowl, and for the past, what has it been, 3-4 years? It feels like Latinos are taking over again. I mean, you have people from Bad Bunny to the women like Karol G, you have Rosalia. They're all different countries, all the things.
Right.
But then you have Frontera, they have a Tejano, I guess, base, right? Like they have an influence of Tejano now in the mainstream. And so because that cycle has happened, I almost feel like that's the missing puzzle piece that we that we didn't have. So plug that in, plug the well-oiled ecosystem that we're having here in the industry. It almost seems like it's a perfect storm, right? Okay.
Yeah. And it is very much that. And I think it took artists like Karol G and them, who obviously love Selena. Who use the word again, Tejano.
Right. Yeah. Which is
because there was a time where people didn't want to use that word, and I never dropped that word. That's who I am.
Yep.
I said I started out at Tejano artist. I retired at Tejano artist. I was never going to be something that I was not, because Tejano also is a representation of these other styles of music. It is.
Yep.
If you were to strip away, everyone's like, well, Frontera, they're from Texas, but their music is not Tejano. If you were to have Jay Perez put his voice on their music, would you call it Tejano?
Mm-hmm.
You probably would.
Yep.
So, it's so weird how people, and it's not one thing. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It is not one style of music. It depends on the artist that is representing the genre.
Yeah. It's like pop. Pop stands for popular.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
exactly.
You can't say, oh, well, they're getting too, like, too poppy. And
right.
it's
like Michael Salgado is primarily, a cross between conjunto and with the norteño sound, obviously, because he also, his music also caters to Mexico and down, right?
Yep.
So it depends on that. Like I just mentioned, Jay Perez is more the Tejano progressive, right, if you will.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, she performs and you hear a lot of pop, cumbia, reggaeton vibe in her music. It just depends on who the artist is.
Individual.
Yes.
And that's the individuality of our artistry,
exactly.
right? And it just blows my mind because we will go round and round. Shelly, when I tell you.
I know. But it's a never-ending argument.
It's a never-argument, discussion. When I tell you, we will put on, I don't know if you've ever done a shout out to them, if you guys, Tejano TV, they have a Tejano countdown. When I tell you, we're like, oh, does Tejano countdown do they have a new countdown? And when I tell you, shout out to Tejano TV, and no shade to any of the artists, but we will sit there and be like, 7 out of 10 regarding the song. We really critique the songs.
Right.
You touched on that earlier, because that's a big deal. I think that's one thing that we miss. Yeah, the artist is a big deal, of course. The sound is cool. But if you resonate with the song and the lyrics, that's a big thing for us in our household, right?
For sure.
So anyway, it's always a topic of conversation. But I do want to go back a little bit, because the person that you are now, of course, as an individual, you've always been that way, right? You've always been strong. You've always been, you've always stood up for what's right. But was there ever a time in your career in which you couldn't be yourself, and you felt that you dumbed down who you were to kind of make it, or were you able to keep your personality at bay always of who you were the entire time in your career?
No, I mean, I always couldn't just be fully myself, privately, was really difficult, like we talked about a little bit in the 90s. You know, because my two best friends have been together for like over 40
Oh,
years, and you
wow.
know, they would want to go out on the weekends, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, we can't go there. We can't go to the gay
Really?
strip or to the gay bars or nothing like that, because I'd be
Yeah.
deathly afraid of being
When did
recognized.
you make
And
that switch? When did you realize that you like, screw it, I am
um,
who I am?
it wasn't very long ago. It was
Yeah.
only 2008 where I
Wow.
just said, no, I'm sorry, 2005.
Okay.
2005.
Was there a
When
moment, or you
it
just
was
felt it?
it was kind of a moment, because I was in a past relationship, and I was going to be leaving San Antonio to move to Lubbock
Oh, wow.
for this relationship, and so that's when I really talked to my parents for the first time about it.
Wow.
And they weren't so upset about that. They were upset that I was leaving San Antonio.
Of course.
And then, you know, Facebook had kind of started coming
Yeah.
on.
Oh,
And
yeah, I was
when I
right around
moved
that
back
time.
home after 2010, you know, I just kind of started just sharing my life on Facebook, my relationship, and honestly, like, I probably got not even a whole full handful of negative comments. Other than that, it was just like people, you know, known me for so long that they just, my happiness made them happy, and
Yeah.
that was pretty much how I saw that. But you know, I just remember, um, you know, being deathly afraid because, you know, my career was so important to me.
Right.
You know, of course, I wanted to have kids. I wanted to go to college.
Yeah.
But I chose my career. My career was over everything, and I don't regret it, and I wouldn't take it back. But I know that if I'd have been a mom, I would not have been on the road. I know I would have wanted to be at all my kids' events like my mom was for us. But I mean, it was scary. Like, you just kind of had this, you had to have this certain persona, and people would ask about, you know, do you have a boyfriend, or, you know, and they'd ask personal questions, and you know, I would just be like, I don't talk about my personal life. You know, I'd always say that in interviews, and I don't talk about my personal life. And so it's very private.
And they knew that about you.
I am an introvert, believe it or not. I'm very introverted. You wouldn't think so, but I am. I do have my introverted moments.
You're like an extroverted introvert.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then just as, you know, I got older, but I think I was worse in my personal life, I think.
Really?
I think personally, I was like a yes to everything. I was like, put the other person before myself. Because I'm a very giving person.
Yeah.
And I just knew how to pick the ones that love to take advantage of that. And you know, it just, when I look back now, and I'm like, why would I do that to myself?
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, we all go through that in relationships. But it wasn't till I met my wife that I really realized, wow, there is someone out there like me that is also a giving person and also wants to do for me. And where it's just effortless, and you know, we just support each other in everything we do.
And what does your wife do?
She works in hospice. She works for Harmony Hospice Care.
Yeah, that's right. You did say
so
that earlier.
she's very dedicated to. She's the one that goes and talks to the patients.
Okay.
She does the presentation. She does the education of hospice.
Okay.
Because among our Latino community, there's a really big stigma with hospice, and people are afraid of that word, and they don't understand that it's very helpful, and something can be very helpful to people. So she does that, and she's very passionate about it. But she's very well-rounded in doing a lot of. In her life, she's done a lot of things.
She's worn a lot of hats.
She's done. She's also a makeup and hairstylist.
Okay.
She's worked in construction. She's worked in retail. She's done it all.
Okay.
She's done it all. And so, and then when we met, she went on the road with me.
Okay.
And helped my mom a lot, and would sell my merch, and she helped me design my merch. She was my makeup artist. You know, it was like we just clicked, you know, and I'm just very grateful that I get to share my life with someone, because I always say this, my wife doesn't make me happy. Yeah. She adds to my happiness. Yeah. And me to her. Yeah. Because we are two very different individuals. We are very independent women. We love doing a lot of things, so we respect each other for what we want to do individually too. You know, we don't have to always be under each other's thumbs.
Right. You don't have to be chicle all the time.
I wasn't used to that. Yeah. I was used to someone, when are you coming home? Why are you still there? Why are you still recording? You know, y'all are still on the road, or, you know, or, you know, arguing with me before I hit the road. And those things are just, you know, not healthy.
Not for your brain, not for your mental.
And for me to be able to commit myself to my fans, you know?
And I want to talk a little bit about baby Shelly.
Okay.
Because we all know about like the grown Shelly, what she's done, what she's accomplished. I mean, we've seen you all over. But I don't think people know how you got there. And I'm not talking about the music industry. I'm talking about just Shelly in her heart.
Yeah.
And how she has probably had her trials and tribulations. So my first question to you is, you've talked about your dad and how he passed. What did he pass from?
He had heart disease.
Okay, so he had heart disease. And how old were you when he got diagnosed?
Oh, gosh. I was very young. Very young.
Early.
Daddy had congestive heart failure. Probably, maybe mid 80s.
Okay.
Around there. He was diabetic, had hypertension.
Okay.
So, old school dads just kind of eat whatever they want.
And then you ask them if they're okay. They're like, yeah, I'm feeling fine. They don't want to tell you.
Man of Steel, Daddy was, very old school.
And your siblings. So talk to me about, you said you had a musical household. So like, what do they do? What were they like growing up?
My oldest sister, Patty, she's 12 years older than me. I remember my siblings working very young. Because my sister before me, so it's my sister Patty, my brother Steve, and my sister Laura. Okay. And I came 9 years after my sister Laura. So they were like triplets, and then I was kind of like an only child, if you will, because by the time I was growing up, they were already getting married. Brother. Yep. Yeah, they were already getting married and moving on. So my sister Patty was, all of them are very hard workers. Yeah. All of us are. Like I said, because mom and dad, hardworking people.
Instilled it.
So my sister started working in banking very young. I remember. She was my sister that would always buy me my clothes.
Oh, okay.
And provide me with clothes. My brother is the one that I really learned the music from.
Okay, so
because he was musical. Straight up musician. So was my sister Patty. So was Laura.
Okay.
And my mom and dad could sing as well.
Wow.
So my brother played the drums, the piano, guitar. And he was in band. He was in marching band and jazz band, so he could read music. So as maybe like 3 or 5 years old, I remember grabbing the guitar and playing the drums and playing the piano and him showing me how to play. And my brother was very musically diverse, so he listened to everyone from Pat Benatar to Willie Nelson to Linda Ronstadt. My sister Laura listened to Commodores. My sister Patty listened to pop music. So and mom and dad listened to Spanish, Vicente Fernandez. Yeah. So I had like a plethora of stylistic music. And then Laura, my sister, she was more like my second mommy. Okay. She was the one that would bathe me, comb me for picture day.
Make sure you're getting up for school, all the things.
So they were very hands-on with me, all three of them.
Lucky you.
I was very spoiled.
I was going to say, lucky
I was very spoiled.
So at what point were they like, wait, Shell can sing. Like she can do this.
I think I was probably about 7 years old, 6 or 7, because I grew up a huge Olivia Newton-John fan. Oh. So I have all her albums. I can attest to that because I saw you at TTMA one year. Obviously, we watched the old videos and you were presenting. And obviously it was the time, your hair. But it's so crazy because it was very Olivia Newton-John. Like, we had a lot of big hair
like
back
in
the day. Yeah. So I grew up listening to her. Musicals were really a big thing in my house. So I love soundtracks.
Okay. What's your favorite?
I don't have Xanadu.
Oh, okay.
Xanadu is one of my favorites. Then of course I grew up listening to Grease and Annie and Flashdance.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up Fame. The movie Fame.
The original.
I carried that cassette in my cassette player with me as a child. And I would sing Fame, and I'd sing Out Here on My Own. Yeah. Irene Cara for everyone to hear, whether they wanted to hear me or not. I just remember carrying that cassette player around with me everywhere. And it was my aunt and uncle visit my mom and dad one day, and they were like, "Man, Shelly has the record player really loud." Like, and my dad's like, "Yeah," and dad's like, "Well, that's her singing," and he's like, "What?" So they freaked out that was me singing.
So they thought you had it loud. They were hearing the music, but it was you.
It was me. Yeah, Shelly, so I know. So I've always music has just been my life ever since. I mean, honestly, as far back as I can remember, 2 or 3 years old. Like it's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever known my whole 54 years of my life.
What would you say take us back to one of the most memorable moments as Shelly, the performer? Before you retired, a hard one. Like one that you look back, you're like, excuse my language, but you're like, damn, like I'm a badass.
Oh no, I don't know if I.
Come on, you have to have one.
I mean, there's a lot of.
Or a moment when you were like, I was built, because like like I would imagine when you were asked to perform somewhere that you never thought you would perform, or
Well, I think performing at the Tejano Music Awards at
that was
age
a
10, 11, I think
you were
that
like,
was the moment.
whoa. I've seen video of
Because
it.
I think there was only like 1,200 people there. It was at
Wow.
the Henry B. Gonzalez Banquet Hall
Yeah.
back in the day, in 1982. And I got to perform with Latin Breed. They backed me up.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know how important that was at the time until I learned about Latin Breed after that. But just performing on stage with an iconic band, and them just complimenting me, and you know, ever since that day, and watching myself, and then of course, you know, recording my very first record at age 10 with the iconic Manny Guerra, who had been producing every iconic artist before me. Everyone. He produced everyone.
Wow.
And
then did you know it then, or you're saying in hindsight?
I didn't know it then.
Yeah.
Probably
you were just kind of
not
going
till later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then hearing my record on AM radio for the first time.
You were like,
it was just weird. Yeah. And holding my 45 in my hand was probably the most memorable.
That's so cool.
But I remember as I grew a little older, maybe 12, 13 years old, and I started to learn the Pioneers.
Yeah.
Because we were performing their music with the orquesta. I was with Hot Tamales. And then, you know, my goal was to be inducted into the Tejano Roots Hall of Fame as a child. That was my main goal.
Wow.
And to finally be inducted at the, you know, on my 25th year. I was 30. And to be inducted was just a dream come true. That to this day, that's my favorite little accolade that I keep at my studio, because that was my main goal as a child.
Like that's what you always looked at.
That was my main one of my goals, was to be amongst the people that I looked up to.
Yeah, the greats that inspired you.
It's huge.
You know what? It's funny because I don't know if I disclosed this earlier, so don't sue me, but I don't listen to Tejano music all the time.
I don't either.
My husband, on the other hand, this morning it was playing in the shower.
Yeah, I don't listen.
It's all the time, right? If we want to go somewhere, I'm like, he's like, am I driving or are you driving? I'm like, I'm driving because I get to pick the music. But
That's
anyway,
funny.
But the reason I bring that up is because I like to get schooled.
What does he listen to? Does he listen to like it on Spotify or something, or does he? Does he listen to a radio station?
Oh no! He listens to, in the house. He's listening to on Spotify. In his car, he's listening to a radio. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
It's either KLMO. There's another one on the AM that he listens to.
Well, we still have KXTN, and we have the one 95.7 with Johnny Ramirez in the morning.
He does listen to Johnny Ramirez in the morning. What am I? Jalapeno KDA.
Yeah.
He listens to KDA. But he anyway. But my point though is that he likes to school me, and I love to learn about it, right? And one time Destiny had come over and they're like, Rueben, you're going to sit down, her and him. I call them Tejano and Proud. Like they are Tejano and Proud. They know all the winners of all the years and all the, it's crazy.
I love it.
Right? So we're there listening and they're like, we got to show you this. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I have my snacks and they play. And the reason I bring it up is I think you were there. And I'm so jealous I wish if I would have been around during those years. Mm-hmm. So basically what I'm getting at is that the opening of the Tejano Music Awards was, I don't remember, as horrible of me that I don't remember one of the artists. It was one artist. Then all of a sudden they did like, Emilio was like in the audience.
Oh, he was up in the rafters.
But it wasn't him. It was like a body double. Because then
it was on both sides. I still remember that sound check.
And then
I remember that day.
And then Selena does. I think
she comes out.
She comes out, and I was like, it's just crazy for me because by the time I really knew Tejano music, like obviously I didn't. It's like one of those things that you talk about it, like Bad Bunny did it in his show. Like it's one of those things. Like I heard it. We were at quinceañeras, we were at weddings, and I was falling asleep, and I heard the music.
Yes,
Tejano to me is that feeling of like, oh my gosh, that's this song.
Right.
Like I used to hear that at the bar and at the barbecues, right?
Yeah.
Now I know like Como Iré, like all like those big songs that I'm like, wait a second, how do I know this song, right?
It's so funny.
Right. So anyway, so they're showing me these things and they're like, and you came out, I think you presented that year, or maybe you performed. I think I performed
that year.
Okay, maybe you did, because I remember seeing it and they were like, look, that's Shelly, and I was like,
want to say that was probably like 1993.
It was around 93, yeah.
If I was playing my timbales, it was probably 1993.
And I was like, they're like, look, that's Shelly. And look, this is...
I'll never forget that day, though, because it was funny, because Paul Rodriguez was actually hosting that show.
Yes, he was.
And he's my good friend.
Okay.
And we were all at soundcheck that day, and they were showing, they were practicing that opening.
Yeah.
And they kept messing up. And Paul comes out, and he's like... Orale, what's happening? He's like, if y'all can't get it right, we'll get Shelly Lares come up here. She'll get it right. And they were all mad because he made that comment. I'll never forget that day. But it was that in particular that. But yeah, but see, this is what I'm talking about, standard.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think even now, our Tejano Music Awards are trying to find their way back to that standard. But let's be real. What's holding them back from that is the economy of the industry.
Did you hear that? She said economy.
Because if we are not doing things to a certain level, why are sponsors going to want to be part of something that's not to a certain standard?
Yeah.
So, you know, our award shows are still...
What she's really saying is don't be pobrecito.
Yeah,
like, that's basically, these corporations are going to spill money into things that they believe in, right?
Right. And I think our award shows are trying to contribute.
Yeah.
But they're dropping the ball on the production.
Yeah.
And they're dropping the ball on the way that it needs to be professional and how things need to be done. I understand you feel bad for the new artists that aren't winning awards, but that's not what it's about.
Right.
I was nominated for Female Vocalist of the Year for the very first time in 1984.
Wow.
I did not win that award until 1998. So you want to talk about being patient?
Yep.
You understand that just because you're an artist doesn't mean that you should win awards.
Yeah, on your second album or whatever. Yeah.
It's like you gotta earn. It's like a new artist that walks into a room, and I saw it with a new artist when we did the internet party last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to observe. I like to people watch. I like to kind of see how the new artists
mingle and interact,
and how they are with fans and how they are with radio and how they carry themselves. And it's not to be judgmental.
No.
I'm just curious to see how they're walking in the room. And I saw one walk in, and I'm like, you need to earn the respect of the room. You don't walk in the room and you already expect the respect. It's just, you got to work your way there. And you can. It's just, it's not about egos. It should never be about ego. It should be about why we're there. And we're there because, our genre deserves it and our fans deserve it. And the fans that have stayed true to it, even in the worst of times.
The connection.
Yeah, and like it or not, I mean, I've had, like I said, not everyone is a Shelly Lares fan, and that's okay. I didn't do this because I wanted everyone to like me. Maybe my music is not their cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine because there are people who do like my music.
Right.
And I have made relationships I have had fans that have had 4 generations of listening to my music. Their grandmother, their great grandmother, their grandmother, their mom, their aunt,
crazy
and they've all come to me together at the same time.
Right.
And it's to know that they passed it down. And I mean, those are the moments that matter. But yeah, so to get to that standard again, it's very doable. To where that excitement grows to where we want people to come from out of town to want to come to the awards.
I think, and you know what it is? I think it just lacks the intention.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's trying to do it all at one time.
And the integrity of it too is very important.
It's like, let's do baby steps. I'll relate it to an award show. If we're going to do an award show, we don't have to have a red carpet where everyone and their mother can just roll up with their phone and take pictures. It has to be exclusive. It has to be
to a certain standard.
And I think that we do baby steps, right?
Yeah.
Let's do an award show and take the red carpet away.
And it's so funny, Rueben, because not only do artists reach out to me, I'm talking about people that produce award shows too.
Yeah.
And I sit down and I'm like, look, this is what this, and they don't necessarily apply it.
They think because they have money.
They come to me every year and they're doing the same thing every year. And I'm like, guys, that didn't work.
Yeah, it hasn't worked.
We're like, can we change it up?
Right,
and everyone's like, Shelly, can you start an award show? I'm like, oh God, no, please. I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't mind producing one.
Of course.
And because for me, it's not only about shell shock.
Yeah.
It's not only about shell shock. I mean, just like it's not only about me having this Tejano ensemble.
Yeah.
Like recently, Sunny Salcedo is doing some amazing stuff with the folk life.
Yeah.
They just started. I just saw a tweet. My friend posted. They're doing a scholarship for Tejano music. They started the scholarship, and I'm like, those are the things we need to celebrate. But unfortunately, our people, they get jealous. They get envious. They're mad at you for doing it.
Yep.
I'm like, why? Because we're all winning.
It goes back to that, what do they say, like the crawfish in the bucket thing?
Exactly.
Like,
and that's why I say I'm the type of crab in the bucket. Like, I'm going to knock over that freaking bucket.
Yeah.
I'm going to crawl out, and I'm going to ask anyone who wants to come with me.
Yep.
It's like, even if I need to bite off my own arm that you're pulling me down with to get out, to push the bucket over, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just, but everyone needs to understand, like, we all have something to bring to the table. But our artists do need guidance.
Mm-hmm.
They do need guidance, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help.
Do you think the industry lacks the guidance outside of you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they're quick to judge,
Of
and
course.
they're quick to insult,
But not
and
to
they're
provide
quick
help.
to tell them what they're not doing.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if every veteran artist took a new artist under their
Wow.
wing? Can you imagine? Like
And the thing
Patsy
is
Torres
that-
did to me.
But I will say they try to perceive that they do that, but they're like, hey, you come follow me, but you just stay down here. I'm gonna
And
stay
why?
here. It's so crazy, and that's not just in our genre. That's in all
I'm fine
industries,
with it
but-
because we all have our seasons.
Oh, amen. Yeah, for
we
sure.
all had our seasons. We all had our chapters in this beautiful book of Tejano music, you know, which I just purchased the other day. I just bought a book from the Guadalupe bookstore,
Oh, really?
cultural arts bookstore, and it's going up to the 90s. It's going back, like with
Oh,
Lydia Mendoza, but
wow.
it stops at the 90s. And I'm in this book, and I read it, and I'm like, wow, that chapter over here, 1 and 2, I didn't belong there.
Yeah, yeah,
I belonged in almost the final chapters of this book.
yeah, yeah.
Just like these new artists are not going to
Not
be in my
that book.
chapter,
Yeah,
and I'm not going to be in theirs. I mean, what is wrong with that?
yeah. That's life.
I
That
mean,
is the
it's
evolution.
life. Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. But
Wow, I
you
didn't
can
think of it like
still
that.
stay. You can still stay relevant in
Yeah,
so many ways.
in the ways that you're doing.
So many ways.
But I think that too is because you're doing it with your heart, and you're doing it
Yeah.
because you love it. This you weren't doing it to your point. You're not doing it because look at me. I'm Shelly Lares. I'm a star.
No.
Innately that happened
Yeah.
because you produced hits and you were a star. You were an artist on stage. You knew how to attract a demographic, if you will, but not because you were trying, just because
Right.
of who you were, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's just it's taking time. I will say in the last 3 or 4 years, you have seen that shift.
Yeah,
and,
it's coming
and it's
around.
nice to see it. It's
coming
cool.
around.
Even
Thank
for
God.
me, for someone like me
Yes.
who doesn't listen to Tejano music on
Yeah.
now, every now and then I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. I want to go to fanfare. I want to go. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I
So
mean, and I
it's
talk to
taking
them all the
time.
time. Bino's always calling me.
Mm.
I'm a consultant for a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
these things that, you know, and I feel honored that they ask me for my opinion
Yeah.
because I'm not going to be biased to my artist.
Right.
If I see there's another artist, like even for bookings,
Yeah, yeah.
like they're calling me, who could you get? If I think that my artist doesn't fit what they're looking for, I'm going to pick an artist that I think. Same
Yeah.
thing with the films. Now
Yeah.
that I'm doing films,
yeah.
if there's an artist that I feel that their song belongs in this film, I'm going to put them. I don't have to be producing them either.
Correct.
You know, because
And it's all about connections, being in
that's
the room,
right.
and gaining the respect, because you might say, hey, that one time Susie walked in the room, I liked her vibe, I liked what she was like. Let me
Yes.
throw her a bone. Let me help her.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Because you can never forget who. Got to be careful. You never know who you're meeting
Yep.
for the first time and
Yep.
stuff like that. So it does matter. But yeah, I mean, I love being in my classroom and students. Like one of my students, I only have one girl in my Tejano ensemble. She plays trumpet,
What?
but she's from Peru.
What?
And she's like,
Only
I don't
one
know
female?
Tejano. Yeah, but now I have all these females wanting to join, and we're like next semester, next semester.
Yeah.
But she's like, I love Tejano. She's like, I want to learn it. Wow. So I think another thing that has hurt us is that there hasn't been enough documenting of our pioneers
Amen, yeah.
to understand where it's come from. Because I know when I watch, I love watching documentaries.
Mhm.
I love watching documentaries of someone I know Joe Schmo about.
Right.
And then what? You have a different sense of respect for them.
You love
right?
them more. Yeah.
Right. You respect the journey.
Yep.
And I think that we are falling asleep on our pioneers that are still alive.
Yep.
You know, your Ruben Ramoses,
That's
and
so
to
true.
me, honestly, every Tejano artist is an icon to me.
Yeah.
Everyone that's helped put this industry on the map in its own way, to me, is an icon.
Which is so
to me,
cool
is a pioneer. Because to me, there's not more than one.
You know, it's also hard because I think people it's hard for people to believe what you're saying. Not
Mhm.
because they don't believe you, because it is so rare.
Yeah.
It's so rare to sit in front of someone who has the accolades that you do, right? And hear someone's, like, if you were in a room with Tejano artists, whether they're newer or a veteran, and you're like, I think you guys are all icon. They may just think, oh, it's a Hallmark card.
Yeah.
But you truly mean it.
I do,
which is
because without
crazy.
them, certain sound wouldn't have been
True.
heard. Without them, you know, a certain fan base wouldn't be loving this industry.
I want to jump into, because I think this is a huge part of what makes you so strong as a human, as a woman specifically, is the ensemble at school. And I want to know, was that your idea, or was
It was
that
my goal. I mean, it was a goal of mine and Dean Dr. Glenn Martinez, where when we first sat, because he was after me for 2 years to
Okay.
be the first artist in
Yeah.
residence. He knew I was going to be retiring from the road, so he hit me up, and I told him no, because I told you I was going to go to nursing school. I said I'm not going to do music for a little while, and I kept telling him no, and he's like, well, I really want you, Shelly. I think you're perfect for this. And so when I finally, said okay, we sat down, and our goal is to really bring more Latin music to the university. But Tejano was on the top of the list. We wanted to have an actual curriculum and ensemble. And so this was 3 years ago.
Okay.
Of course, it didn't happen the first year.
Right.
Like he and I were hoping. And they're like, why should we have a Tejano ensemble?
Right.
Why should we have a curriculum of Tejano music? What's so special about this? So we basically had to sell it, And I told the dean, I'm like, just give me time to plant the seeds with the students. So I was also teaching in the audio tech class 1 and 2. I would go into the history of the music industry, introduction to the music industry class. I'd go into the world music class. I taught in the Selena class. So I was jumping around different areas of the university, building relationships with these students. Then I would bring them to my studio, and they would work in my studio. I'd hire them as studio musicians. Mariachi Los Paisanos became studio musicians of mine. So we started to show that there is something there. There was a relationship I was developing with the students, in teaching them music, teaching them producing, teaching them recording, songwriting, and then the love for Tejano music. Yeah. And so finally, 3rd year, here we are. And, I'm 15 students in.
That is
And
insane.
we're the only one in the world, because we also have we have the Selena class. Texas State does have a conjunto. Okay. Which is the great-grandfather of Tejano, right? Yeah. I think San Diego State also has a Selena class, if I'm not mistaken, or they have a conjunto. But we're the only university that is implementing all of the elements of Tejano music. All. Stylistically, instrumentation-wise. Because I have saxophone players, trumpet, trombone, keyboards, bass drums, guitar, bajo sexto, accordion, percussion. So we are covering all of the instrumentation that contributes to Tejano music. So we're the first ones to do that, and we hope that other universities do the same.
They're kind of going to have to. The need for it's going to come from the desire of students. There's no way. I don't see a future in which you guys aren't the catalyst of why. First off, the system, the University of Texas system, it doesn't just trickle all over, right? Yeah. Just because we're in San Antonio, right? Like it's gonna trickle all. I would imagine they're gonna have multiple. It's gonna evolve into multiple genres in San Antonio first, and it's gonna spring. There's just no way. I don't see it not happening. Right. And you were part of the first.
Well, thank you.
Which is crazy.
And another thing I wanted to do was do an annual concert that we're going to have to raise money for scholarships for the Tejano Ensemble and for our mariachi program. That's what we're doing this show for in particular. So it's going to be April 15th at the Empire Theater.
Empire Theater. Okay,
and
April
it's called
15th.
Sonidos de San Antonio is the name of the show. Okay. The name of my Tejano Ensemble is Sonido Tejano. And then Mariachi Los Paisanos from UTSA. So what we're doing is I have booked, we're going to do it every year. So every year is going to be different artists. So cool. So we are so honored to have, and you're actually hearing it on your first.
Okay.
It's going to be Little Joe.
Wow.
Rueben Ramos. Ram Herrera, Patsy Torres, Dr. Patsy Torres, Sunny Sauceda, Santiago Jimenez Jr., and myself. So we are starting from the beginnings. Okay. So there will be some narration, some photos that may be seen in between the different styles. Yeah. So we're going to day 1, right? Where I told you, just started with bajo sexto and accordion. And so Santiago Jimenez Jr., whose father, Flaco Jimenez Sr., is one of the innovators of conjunto music, is going to be performing with my student on bajo sexto.
That's badass.
And then we're going to introduce the first woman of Tejano music, Lidia Mendoza. We're going to pay homage to her. And then we're going to transition into 30s, 40s, and then now the orquesta sound So out will come one of the innovators, which is, little Joe, Ruben Ramos. And then we're gonna switch gears to, it's kind of stopping at the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
This year.
Yeah, of course.
And then of course we're gonna have like Ram Herrera, Sonny Sauceda performing. I might have him in the conjunto stuff too, Sonny. And then at the end, we're all gonna do a really big song all together with the paisanos as well.
Wow.
And it's gonna be a journey that people are gonna go on that maybe have never known what Tejano music is, never known the timeline, never known the evolution
and the appreciation that comes from
and
that.
It's gonna be set a different light, I think.
You said April 14th?
April 15th.
April
Tax
15th.
Day. Tax Day.
April 15th. You heard it here first. I will be there. April 15th.
April 15th.
Wow.
It's
That's actually
great.
a really cool concept, because I think it molds what we've been talking about this whole conversation of, like, that education.
Yes.
If you, even me, hearing at the very beginning of this conversation of you going through the timeline, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, you never knew
I'm not even a part of it, and I feel proud of it. You know what I mean? So, wow. Okay,
because there's
April
so
15th.
many pioneers before us that are really the ones that made the sound, contributed to the sound.
I'm gonna have to text you to tell me the title of that
But then we
book.
could say that about us too, right?
True, yeah.
About the progressive artists. Like, we played a big role in the progressive sound of Tejano music.
And it's
the younger
demographic,
demographic, like we said, we mentioned Selena, La Mafia, La Sombra, La Fiebre. Those artists, we were all kind of the same age.
Yeah.
So we contributed to that. So it's really cool to see now the newer artists that are, putting their little stamp on the new sound.
Throwing their seasoning.
Yeah, throwing their seasoning.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
We need to allow them to do so. Yeah. We need to.
We need to allow them to throw the seasoning, and we just turn it a little bit. Let the pot boil.
Exactly.
Shelly, this whole month is for strong women.
Right.
And I am so, when we had the conversation about you coming on, I was like, oh yeah, in March. I'm so happy I waited for you to come in March, because I don't think in the world that we live in today, there are women, and of course we applaud the women who have left their footprints and really opened doors.
Right.
But I think the difference, especially in our local community, the difference here is that you've opened the door, and then you went to the back door and you opened that door, and then you opened the closet doors and you opened those doors. You open the windows. You're letting the air come in. You're kind of the fuel to the machine. And I'm not a woman. I'm not an artist, but I can say at least thank you for that, because even sitting here, a lot of people can throw hate or judgment or whatever they want, honestly, but they can't take away the things that you've accomplished. And I'm not talking about when you were an artist. I'm talking about you as a human. And I think a lot of people have a lot to learn is legacy. And I talked about it at the beginning. I'm going to talk about it now and feed into the last little portion I want to go into. But legacy, as I talked about at the beginning, is not just about what you left behind.
Right.
It's about what people just happen to learn and gain from you so that they could pass on.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to what you talked about, the generations of people that have come to your shows, all 4 generations at the same time coming to you and saying, oh my gosh, look what you've done for our family. We have something that we all can relate to, right?
Yeah.
But outside of the music, it's like hospice care. That's going to be something that your legacy continues on, because someone will replace you when Shelly's done doing it. And then hopefully there will be 2 that replace you, right?
Yeah.
And I just think, again, we don't do a good enough job at applauding the people who are the catalysts of these legacies. So from me to you, from my generation, thank you, because
thank you.
I know you hear it a lot in your artist world, right? Because you're a mentor. So I'm sure that there's so much pride and gratitude that people give you because they get to hear their record, and you've coached them, and you've really gotten them to the beginning of their dreams and their goals. But I think, again, to your point of the people that message you that are not in the music industry, it's so telling how educated you are even on the evolution of this genre, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that I say this little genre, but this little genre that you've really researched and were a part of and helped grow is now branched into, like, I mean, an ensemble. Are you kidding? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. I know people tell you that enough, probably,
so
but
much.
I wanted to make sure that you walked away today knowing that.
I appreciate
and it
that.
leads me into something else, because I don't know if you do this often. I know you probably pray, and I know you probably reflect.
Yes.
But something that I do on the show with every single guest is I always ask, the little Shelly lives alive in your heart, right? We always say, like, fuel your inner child, feed your inner child, right? But we don't do that as often. Maybe you do, because I feel like you live a lot in the present and you really absorb everything. But how often do you get to look at Shelly, little baby Shelly? We never get to just look at a picture of baby Shelly and say like, wow. Like if I knew what I knew then, this is what I would have done for her.
Right.
So I always ask guests, take the moment. You can look at the camera, you can look at me, you can close your eyes for even. But I want you to just think about what you would tell younger Shelly if you had the chance to talk to her. What would you tell her about what to expect in life?
I would definitely say that life is going to be a full circle moment, because I've had a lot of those very big full circle moments, and that you are going to positively make a huge impact in a lot of people's lives, for whatever reason, in a lot of different areas, that you are going to fulfill the purpose that God gave you when he created you. Because God creates all of us with purpose, on purpose, and not to be mediocre. Amen. And to know that I love this life, and I'm so grateful to God for every moment that I open my eyes. Every day that we wake up and take a breath, we're a living miracle right then and there before we even step our foot off the bed. So definitely, I don't live my life to be mediocre. I don't live my life. You're not going to live your life on the surface, but I do dig deep into everything and who I am and what I believe and what I want to learn about myself, as God teaches me things about myself every day. And as I feed my spirit every day, and I read the word and I try to apply it to my life, you're gonna definitely do that. And I do keep a constant reminder. Like I said, you can't get to where you're going until you can't get to where you're going if you forget where you came from. I do have in my studio a repeat of a couple of things. Some of them are the music videos that I've done and directed of some of my artists, and one of them is a really special video that a friend of mine made of me throughout my career of my album covers. Yeah, because there's 25 plus albums that I've done. But he started it with my very first headshot where I'm holding the microphone. So I do see little Shelly every day.
That's awesome.
And it's nice to see when that video ends. The latest video I just did for Latinos de Todo el Mundo with Rev Ray plays. And I'm like, wow. And then sometimes I just sit there in my studio and I watch this video play of my album covers, and I see my own evolution. But not only as a musician, but as a woman. Mm-hmm. As an artist, and I look back on those times and I'm like, wow, I remember where I was there. My mentality was there. I remember where maybe sometimes my lack of confidence was during that time. Because you will see it on my album covers, because I hate doing photo shoots. I do not like photo shoots. I never have, and I never will to this day. But I look back and I'm like, wow, I remember where I was in that moment and where I am today. So I do have those visual constant reminders. But I do keep a picture of my parents in my studio, because they're where you came from. Huge, and everything is of God in my studio. You'll see if you come in, and you'll feel it. Yeah. Everyone says the same thing when they walk in.
Really?
Yeah. They'll say that they feel the positivity, and they say it's a vibe. That's why I always say arrive to a vibe, leave inspired, because I always make sure that someone leaves my studio feeling inspired. For in whatever capacity lane, they can, whether it's personally, whether it's professionally, anything. I want to give them a little nugget of inspiration to carry with them, because like I said, I've had that with my parents. I have that with my mentor, Dr. Patsy Torres, who still I call on a daily sometimes, and she's still that for me. So.
Full circle
moments, like I said. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you. I think this is more than I ever even expected to get out of this conversation.
For accepting. I came to Rueben, by the way.
But it was
I'm a fan of the show.
But I never ever thought that you would even want to. So like when you messaged me, I was like,
no, wow. I love it. I love getting to know new people.
And you'll see in the next episode, the one prior to yours that will air before yours. It's so cool to see who you're lined up with these strong women that I'm highlighting.
Awesome.
And I'll have to tell you something off camera of another woman that we're going to get from March, which I just found out.
Exciting.
So anyway, with that being said, thank you again for stopping by. I can't wait for this episode to come out. By the time you guys see this, I'll have already previewed it and teased it. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
And please remind me, April
April 15th, Tax Day.
April 15th. I will put all the information in the description
Theater.
at Empire Theater here in San Antonio.
7 to 9. And we're kicking off Fiesta.
Oh,
it's right before Fiesta.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so 7 to 9.
And when you have the flyer for it already, or do you
Not
have
yet.
like a...
I want to get you the flyer.
You'll see it. You'll see it. By the time this comes out, it will probably be out.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing. And if you're on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, make sure you download it. Share. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
God bless.